In this video, I'll cover how to prepare your garden soil for the upcoming growing season. If you're just starting out, or if you're expanding your existing garden, you'll need to dig up whatever's there now and prepare this new area for your garden. This is a really important step that will set the bar for how much you'll get from your garden this year and in the years to come. But don't worry, if you can't do everything now, you can come back and fortify your soil again in the future years. In fact, I fortify my garden soil pretty much every single year. The area that you want to turn into a garden might be covered in grass, might be covered in bark mulch, or something else right now. And you'll have to get rid of everything that's going to interfere with the vegetables you want to grow. This means clearing out roots, rocks, grass, weeds, and any other kind of debris that you find. And yes, this is work. So the first step is to dig out all the stuff you want to get rid of. Now, if you have grass, dig up the grass in chunks and then shake the grass to save as much of the soil as you can, but making sure to get rid of all the roots. Now, if you want and have room, you can use any of these organic materials that you remove to start a compost pile, which I talk about in another video. When getting a garden bed ready, go down at least 6 inches, preferably 12 inches, and while you're doing this, remove any rocks, debris, and roots that you find. Now, when you've removed everything, take a close look at what's left. Did you have a thin layer of topsoil on top, and is there a clear change in soil composition as you went down a little deeper? This happens a lot. You can have your soil tested by getting in touch with your local extension service. Most states offer soil testing for a minimal cost through these extension services, and they'll give you instructions for how to take a good sample, and they'll send you results to tell you what you need to do. See the link down below this video. But if we don't have time for soil testing, there are a few things we can do to fortify the soil to make up for the volume that might have been lost and to make the soil a little bit more vegetable gardening friendly. Then we can have our soil tested at the end of the year or next year when we have a little more time on our hands. Now, as a quick aside, I have to confess, I never thought about having my soil tested until I was getting ready to start this gardening channel. And I thought to myself, if I was going to suggest testing to you, that I should listen to my own advice and have my soil tested. And you know what? When I did, the results surprised me a little bit, and I learned something about my soil and what I needed to do to make it better for me. Now, as far as fortifying your garden soil, if you need to add new material, I would suggest adding 2 parts soil, 1 part peat moss, 1 part compost for starters. I would also suggest adding slow-release fertilizers, including potash, rock phosphate, and manganese green sand. I supplement my garden soil with a few inches of compost every year, and I add these slow-release fertilizers every 2 or 3 years. Now, I also add lime to my soil to increase the pH because I have a lot of pine trees in my yard, and the pine needles get into my compost and reduce the pH and make the soil more acidic. Now, use a shovel or pitchfork to turn your soil over and mix everything up until it all looks the same. Take it a little bit at a time and mix well. You might have to turn the soil over more than once to get it all looking the same, particularly if this is your first time mixing everything up. Now, while you're doing this, look for earthworms. Earthworms are good, and the more you find, the better. Earthworms break down organic matter, and they make it more readily available for your plants to use. As the health of your soil improves, you'll start to see more earthworms in your garden each year. I usually see 1 or more earthworms in every shovelful. Now, all the organic gardening books will tell you that you should feed the soil, and the soil will feed your plants, and you'll have a great garden, and that's what we're all aiming for, right? Well, I mostly believe that statement, but I also believe that there's nothing wrong with supplementing periodically with some quick-release fertilizers at specific times to improve your yields. I talk a little bit more about fertilizers in the topic-specific area.